So thanks everyone. So while everyone's kind of signing in for this call, some of you have been here the last 2 months. This is our third one, some of you haven't. So while we're letting everyone call in, if you just put in the chat, appreciate if you put in the chat because we'll capture it for later, but feel free to kind of say it too if you want. So we have our normal question of, do you have any books, podcasts, any kind of media you recommend for entrepreneurs that you find yourself kind of consistently recommending? We're keeping a running list and we'll share that at the end. I'll share that in my wrap up. So feel free to put that in the chat. Anything. We have a lot of books, only a handful of podcasts. If you have any podcasts that you like, you can put those in there. And then because we just hit the end of the year, just curious where everybody traveled. If you want anywhere interesting, exciting that you recommend, or maybe somewhere you don't recommend, I don't know, but just list those in the chat or unmute if you have anything there that you recommend. So I know on books, the Rainforest is one that gets recommended a lot. Venture Deals have been recommended a couple times last month. So How I Built This, yeah, absolutely. Annika Horn. So Iceland. Oh wow, something to Iceland. That is, I would love to hear how that was. Travel stayed with us. Yeah, so Paul you had some folks coming. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, I think yeah, find your why, Simon Sinek. I don't think we've had that one before, so I'll add that to the list. So looks like we have. I'll go ahead and get started since we have our speakers on. We'll have a couple more folks filtering in. Like I said, I'll update the resource list that we'll send out as in a day or so at the end of this call. So, so welcome everybody for this month's innovation ecosystem call. This is all part of FL Fast, and I'll give a couple of really quick updates before we get to our great guest speakers for the month and resources on some of the things you'll see coming up as part of FAST and what we're going to be doing there, and what the purpose of this call is. And then we'll jump into our MGRP program and guest speakers with Jennifer McKinley and Elizabeth Nelson. And then we have Greg Britton and a handful of SBDC directors from across the state to talk about some of the great programs, resources that the SBDC has, how they help entrepreneurs with SBIR and other things. And so we'll learn a bit about that. And then we have time at the end. I'll share a few resources and funding opportunities and other announcements that we wanted to just bring to everyone's attention that might be valuable for you to know about, along with a quick update on the SBIR solicitation schedule, where we stand now. There's a ton of more opportunities open now than there have been for any of our previous calls. So I'll kind of real quickly talk through that and share updates there, and then we'll just have open discussion, comments about the speakers today. And feel free at any time, put questions in the chat, put comments, questions in the chat. Going a little too fast, and we'll hit those as we go. We'll capture stuff at the end too if you need to. So, so just a quick note on this call, the purpose of why we do this, why we try to get together once a month with the ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem from across Florida. We model this after something the SBA does at the national level, but we thought it's valuable at the statewide level to bring people together to connect. Basically connecting with to learn about. Put yourself on mute. There we go. Appreciate it. We try and bring in guest speakers every month. We'll have 1 to 2 to talk about either SBIR or innovation-focused resources. We record everything and provide any resources we share on the call. We'll provide links afterwards. You can access all the recordings, all the resources that'll always be shared and or captured and shared in one place. You'll learn a bit more about the corridor, how to collaborate with us, how to collaborate with other peers across the state. And again, while we will focus on SBIR and STTR in this, we have a broader view of just trying to bring more awareness and funding opportunities for ESOs and entrepreneur service organizations. So that's kind of the goal of this call. If you have ideas for topics, speakers, anything like that, let me know. I send a feedback form after every call to kind of capture some of that feedback and thoughts from anyone that's here today. So look out for that, or just email me and let me know. So kind of a quick update on what FL Fast is and maybe some of the things that we're going to be working on. So this is these 3 categories: outreach, technical assistance, and funding are the 3 main areas that are in the proposal. This is what the SBA wanted from the FAST network in Florida. And so this is kind of how FAST is structured a little bit. Outreach, this call is a big part of outreach. We want to hear from you. We want to share resources, opportunities that we hear. So we want that to be a two-way street. So this call was really a big part of what we want to, how we want to build the statewide outreach, the statewide network. So we're happy to see this keep continuing to grow. General community outreach with entrepreneurs, and also connecting with program managers, with resources and folks at the SBA to make sure that they know what's happening on the ground in the state of Florida, so that we can kind of bring that information to them through FAST, bring resources to use. So that's a big part of what we'll be doing. We had some we had Department of Energy program manager on last month. We'll try to keep that going too, so you can hear directly from those kind of folks as we go. On the technical assistance side, so this is for SBR, STTR applications and proposals. All the technical assistance we're doing, that we will be doing, is free for entrepreneurs and participants. So, so in this year, this upcoming year, you'll see on the screen there 4 categories of trainings that we're going to have. So some of the SBR, STTR 101, and these are all virtual trainings ranging between 75 to 90 minutes each. And so we'll be, what's on here is when we'll be launching them. So SBR, STTR 101, first one will be early March, so we'll have a date for that really soon. We'll have some topic focused training. Probably the first 2 for this year will be building a commercialization plan, and then how to create and kind of doing the SBIR proposal budgeting process. That, since a lot of you know, that can be a complicated and kind of difficult thing if you're not familiar with it. And both of those trainings, while they're targeted entrepreneurs, you can attend too as ESOs. So you're free to attend those trainings. We're kind of widely available, or they will be widely available. But so it's both for entrepreneurs and for ecosystems. And then something we're excited about is we will have 2 agency focused cohorts. So what these will look like, there'll be 3 to 4 month cohorts. We'll have a total of 15 entrepreneurs throughout the year. And we'll do this twice. And the first one will probably be focused around NSF, the National Science Foundation. So helping, 5 to 7 companies who want to apply to NSF understand the process, and kind of helping to work through what that looks like. So we'll send out a schedule. You'll see details of what that looks like shortly, definitely by the next call. If not, I'll share updates before then. And so that'll be launching in kind of mid-March, between mid-March and April at some point. And then we're going to have a train-the-trainer type of workshop too. So everyone on this call, it'll be separate from this call series. But anyone here will be invited to attend that, and there'll be some resources and training, kind of how you work with entrepreneurs, help make sure they're qualified, they're applying, they understand what is needed to meet the high risk requirements for an SBIR, that kind of thing. So we'll that will be probably closer to Q3 of this year. So, and July or later, but we'll have that a date for that relatively soon. And we'll have an application for all those, or registration for all those, once the dates are set and launched. And then lastly is the financial support piece, and all of this is a great transition over to Jennifer and Elizabeth for our MGRP program. But as you may know, you may not know, the corridor provides matching funding for industry and university collaborations, which includes SBIR grants. And so I will let Jennifer and Elizabeth talk more about that, but really highlighting how that MGRP program can support SBIR awards, something that we really wanted to do. So I will see a couple of things in the chat. Books, perfect. So I will let, and Ian, thanks for putting the MGRP flyer in the chat. So for that, I will do show my intro slide. This is, you'll hear from Jennifer McKinley, Elizabeth Nelson, but I will hand it over to the 2 of you. So Elizabeth, I think we're going to be sharing your screen.
Yes, I am. Hopefully everybody can see it there.
Perfect.
All right. So Jack, thanks so much for the intro. So I know several folks on the call may have heard of MGRP, Matching Grants Research Program, or be generally familiar. So we want to give a refresher for those who are aware, and kind of an intro for those who haven't heard about it. To Jack's point, this is a great tool for industry that's interested in working with USF or UCF faculty especially when SBIR or STTR funds are involved. So I'm, again, Elizabeth Nelson. I am the Matching Grants Program Director at the University of South Florida, and I'm here with my University of Central Florida counterpart, Jen McKinley.
Hello, Jennifer McKinley. And again, as Liz said, we are embedded employees at the universities, and we're here to serve as connectors between industry and our university researchers and other economic development organizations.
So we will take you through a short slide presentation. We'll give you an overview of the program, some specific next steps on how to engage. And we love doing this presentation to entrepreneurial support organizations, because you can really help us most effectively spread our message about the program to the individual companies that you're working with. So hopefully you'll leave this presentation having a better sense of who's a good fit and how you can, direct your companies directly to Jen and I to learn more about the program. So with that, turn it over to Jen to kick us off on the specifics.
Fantastic. So the Matching Grants Research Program is the Corridor's flagship program and began in the late 1990s, right along with the Corridor's inception as well. And the intent here is to support relationships between universities and area industries. Strong ecosystems have these relationships, this connective tissue, as we like to say, and we want to incentivize those collaborations at our individual universities. And so matching grants is a great way to do that. These provide up to $150,000 for the research projects that are there. So the industry partner is starting with the funding, and they have a sponsored research project with a university researcher, and then the corridor comes alongside that with the matching grant. Lots of different ways that these can be used. Sometimes it's that little extra bit to expand a scope of work. Really important sometimes with the funding that is provided from an SBIR, STTR. Those phase ones aren't, that you really have to squeeze them to go a long way. And these matching grants are a wonderful way to be able to leverage those federal dollars to be able to expand the scope of work or validate new product development, maybe even generating additional research to support your marketing efforts. And the intent here as well is to develop long-standing, growing relationships between industry and academia. Back to you, Liz.
All right. And another one of the perks that we find, especially for small companies when they're trying to build their talent pipeline, all of these projects are required to include at least one student, but most projects will include 2, 3, a graduate student, an undergraduate student, and they're working directly with the faculty member and with the industry partner. So if you get a good student that's in their senior year, their final year, their master's, they have a chance to work with the company for 6 months to a year, and then we'll often see those students then take a job at the industry sponsor because they've basically, been onboarding with them, over the course of the project. So that's another benefit we see quite a bit. So one of the first questions we tend to get is, what type of technology is the corridor interested in supporting? And really the corridor has a very broad definition of tech. We have kind of the list of our target industry clusters up on the screen, and those are based both on the region's strengths, but also the strengths of the university. So if you take a quick look, we can make a case that really any research project in the university can fit into 1, if not 2, 3, 4 of those, subject matters, and they align, really nicely with NASA, SBIR, aerospace and engineering, NSF. I know they have particular interest in the learning sciences and human performance cluster, NIH with life science and medical technology. So there's a lot of overlap between the SBIR agency focus and what the corridor is interested in, and as a result, where the strengths of the universities are. And really, when people ask that question, we'll give kind of that answer, but then we want to refocus them on, the technology. Of course, it's central to the project, but there's a lot more kind of the softer side that goes into a successful project beyond just, cool, innovative, potentially commercializable technology.
Mhm. That's right. And so the keys to this strong project have to do with who's involved with this. Liz mentioned how important students are. And we talked about connecting companies with faculty and all of these stakeholders. It's important that it provides value to all of the parties involved. And so if the company is receiving the expertise that they're looking for that is beneficial to their company, and the faculty member is working on research that aligns with their interests and some of their goals that they need to publish or see their research actually have a practical application, and the students are learning how to interact with industry. So important, and a lot of times very different than working on projects for, say, federal agencies. Keeping all of this in mind, as well as having this mindset that everybody's got, different competing interests, and that this isn't meant to be transactional. It's not a vendor relationship. It's not that the company is coming in and saying, just do this for me and expect a report at the end of the day. I want to make sure everybody is receiving benefit from this. And that is really where the impact of these projects happen. And so part of that is having realistic expectations of the timing of these, and having conversations over a period of time to allow those relationships to develop. It's one of the reasons that Liz and I are here, is to help make those introductions and help manage those expectations. And the main part of this to understand is the funding process. So it's a matching program. It starts with funding from the industry partner. Now, where the industry partner receives that funding, whether that is internally funded or a program like SBIRs and STTRs, that is provided as a sponsored research agreement to the university. And then the matching grants come alongside and add those funds to the research group, not to the company. So we get a lot of questions about that sometimes, and willing to talk through some of those questions that you might have, certainly. And then basically, this is fantastic for smaller companies who may not have a lot of internal funding, but are starting a project based on a external funding source like SBIRs or STTRs. And then there's a whole process that is involved in this.
Segue to the process. And I will kind of, I'm going to tailor this process very specifically to SBIR, STTR projects, just in terms of, when it's best for different steps to happen. So the ultimate first step, of course, is finding a match between an industry and a faculty member. So we often have faculty that already have relationship with industry, or have, created that kind of separate from this program. So they kind of skip ahead in the process and can get started really on the application or the collaboration right away. But when we have new companies that have not yet, engaged with either university, that's really where, Jen and I can be the value add. So we can learn a little bit about the company and the particular, SBIR, STTR opportunity that they're interested in going after. And from there, play matchmaker. We dig into, our networks at the universities, the different colleges, and identify, okay, here's a subset of faculty that have the necessary research expertise. And then from there, here, is the one or two faculty that are, interested in the collaboration, have the bandwidth, open to working with companies, and want to learn more. And then we set up, kind of a first date type meeting where we get the faculty member and the company together to talk about, the faculty member's expertise, the company's needs. And it's pretty clear normally within the first few minutes of that meeting if there's a natural fit, both in terms of technical needs, but also just personal chemistry, if this is a team that, is going to work well together. In terms of an SBIR STTR process, the best time to have those conversations is when the company has, a relatively good sense of the actual opportunity that they're going after, and are able to articulate, based on their team strengths, what are the pieces that the university can fill in. SBIRs and STTRs are a great kind of first step project with faculty, because faculty, one, they are very familiar with federal funding, they're comfortable with that approach, that's their their lifeblood, and two, it's just a little bit of work up front, and then if the funding comes in, then the faculty obviously is confident, even if they're not necessarily familiar with the company ahead of time. If they're able to receive federal funding, then we know, okay, this is the feds think this is a viable company and a viable project. It's a nice stamp of approval on the company for the faculty if they're not familiar with them. So we would have those kind of matchmaking meetings, before obviously the proposal was submitted. If it's a fit, the faculty member would provide typically kind of their resumes, bio sketches, an outline of their piece of the budget, an outline of their piece of the scope of work. But the bulk of the application is on the company to complete. They are the applicant, so they're going to be the ones submitting the application, and they'll have a piece from whichever university specific to their subcontract. The corridor can also at this point provide a letter that says this collaboration is eligible for matching funds. We can't commit, we can't say this has been approved and funds are 100% allocated for this project, just because if we did that, we'd end up allocating all of our budget to these potential SBIR projects that may or may not be funded by the feds. But we can give a letter that says this is very much eligible, it meets all of our criteria, kind of a wink that if it's funded, this will have a very good chance for matching funds. So we have those meetings, then the company goes off, submits their SBIR, STTR application. Assuming it is awarded by the feds, the company will be working on the prime contract between the agency and the company. And at that point, they'll also be working on a subcontract between the company and the university. That's the perfect time to get started on the corridor application. So we have templates, and Jen and I are here to really work with the company and the faculty member to put together that application packet. After they've gone through an SBIR or STTR, ours is very much a breeze. They can probably repackage a lot of their information from the scope in the budget into the corridor proposal. And from there, once the corridor proposal is ready to go, it goes out to an outside review committee, which takes a look at that, less frankly from the technical merit and more from what's the impact of this project, how are students going to get involved, how is this going to support the local economy and help the company grow. It's a really easy case to make when we're talking about SBIR, STTR projects. Assuming you get the stamp of approval from the review committee, then we make our award. And as soon as that subcontract is finalized between the company and the university, then the corridor program project opens kind of alongside of that. And the faculty member now basically has, two sources of funding for that one project. Depending on the term, it could last, 6 months, a year, a bit longer if need be. Jen and I then kind of take a step back, and it's the faculty member and the company that are leading that collaboration. That is a very quick kind of overview of the program. As we said at the top, happy to talk to any company that you think might be a good fit, is interested in learning more or making connections with the universities. We really rely on folks on this call to be kind of a lead generator for us. So happy to have one-on-one meetings with any company that you think might be a good fit for it.
Mm-hmm. And Liz and I are definitely, we work hand in hand to make sure that companies are matched with a researcher who would be the best possible fit. So sometimes we will talk to companies together and see if there are expertise areas at either university. Sometimes we'll take those meetings separately, but the intent here is that we're all working together as a team to make sure that companies and researchers find each other, and that is a good working relationship.
Open it up to questions. I see Rose, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, hello and good afternoon. I just wanted to, are there any fees associated with the program?
Sorry, what was that? Any fees you said?
Fees, yeah, fees.
No, nope. So any company can participate. They don't, it's not a, you know, there's no kind of pay to play. Of course, it's a matching. So the company has to, you know, invest a portion of their funding into the research at the university. But beyond that, you know, research investment, there isn't a finder's fee, or Jen and I don't take a commission or anything like that.
I guess I'm used to working with you guys on the nonprofit side. I just wanted to see if there was anything like overhead or anything like that that had to be calculated in. But
So that's a good, so there is overhead on the industry, on the research contract. There's no overhead on the corridor funds. So 100% of the awarded funds go right towards the project.
Gotcha.
Are there any other, I have a couple of questions I tend to get that I can ask, but I wanted to open it up. Does anybody else? Yeah, you have a question.
Amit?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm Amit Agarwal from Tampa Bay Wave. Quick question. So you mentioned this would go through the universities, right? So USF, UCF, and was there another one, or those were the two?
Those are the two that have the matching grants program specifically.
Okay.
Yep.
Elizabeth, can I hop in and sort of add a future state for a minute?
Please do.
So
Our fearless leader.
no, you guys rock, man. This is great. So here's the vision. And we know how valuable this is for those that participate in the UCF ecosystem of companies and the USF ecosystem of companies. I'm trying to work with other universities and we're really early on this, and figure out a way to say, hey, this can be applied to other universities if there's funding for that. Because I'm funded through the state, through UCF and USF in particular, but we could take this type of process and bring it to other universities. I think one of the things that I find as a non-higher ed person that's unique about this is it's hyper-focused on these smaller a lot of times smaller companies who are doing very unique stuff with students that are involved. And it's a niche that often a larger university with a big research department may not see. And so that's one huge thing. I mean, Elizabeth knows I can quote all these professors, student teams that I've met with companies over the last 2.5 years that are doing just this amazing work, and absent a grant and I like Jennifer's analogy, kind of walking with the company and the research. Absent that grant, they wouldn't do it. And so that's what I love about it. So if there, and I see we have somebody from FIU here. I mean, if there are ways to understand what the demand would be like outside of these two ecosystems, that would be data for me that we can sort of play with and figure out how to do this more broadly.
Mm-hmm. I'd also encourage people to follow the corridor on social media. A lot of times the stories of impact show up there. And even though I've been at UCF for a number of years and a part of the Orlando ecosystem for a while, it's been amazing to hear the stories of impact. And whether that's a student who says, hey, I got this job because of the industry partner who worked with my faculty advisor, to students who come back and fund research at the university because they are aware of the expertise that's there. And so it just keeps going, all of these conversations and connections and impact that result in greater research, more jobs, and new companies.
Any other questions?
I did. Sorry. So if a company is interested, is there a way to have a discussion just like a how would I say this? An interest discussion, like just a conversation of interest, kind of see if there's some compatibility, and then go from there.
Absolutely, before they might have a specific
Correct.
SBIR. Yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
Jen and I are happy to do that. We can give kind of a very quick overview of, here are some of the research strengths at each university, and give them a little show and tell that way too.
And what happens if there's multiple companies that want to collaborate? And that's one of the things I'm kind of pushing is small businesses collaborating amongst themselves. And so if I and maybe two other of my business partners wanted to collaborate, is that something, does there need to be a lead company? Are you guys okay with working with the three? How does that look?
So, the more collaboration, the better from my perspective. There may, just thinking kind of through the technical logistics of like contracting with the university, there may need to be kind of one lead. And then they
Gotcha.
partner with the company, but open to Jen. I don't know if you've seen any examples.
Yeah, usually there's one who is leading, and then there's subcontracts, but
Okay.
the heart of the project and the dollar amount is what we look at with that one particular for the matching grants. But yeah, and I see another question about exploratory conversations. It's a good time to talk through these. Start with Elizabeth and I first, and talk us through what your company might be interested in. We can start having those initial conversations with faculty to gauge their interest as well. Not every faculty member is a good fit for an industry award. Sometimes they're very focused on basic research. They have their plate is full. It's not a good time for them. If you start with us, we can start to be able to find the best fit for companies. And then from there, almost naturally, there's the company representative has an idea for a very particular proposal, a very specific idea. And those are sometimes easier conversations to start with if it's focused around a particular proposal or idea.
And to that point, I should have said this kind of when we were talking about the process, but obviously giving us as much time as possible within if you're working against a hard SBIR deadline, the more time we have, the better, just because it is kind of a multi-step process. And as you can imagine, faculty are being pulled in a million different directions. So, coming to us on a Monday and needing to submit by Thursday, would be a bit of a challenge. Not saying we won't try, but the more time kind of ahead of the SBI or STTR proposal, if you don't have a research collaboration already established, the better.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Elizabeth and Jennifer. I think we'll hand it over. If you have more questions for them, if you're able to hang on for the rest of the call,
Absolutely.
to in the chat, and we'll finish up there. If we have time at the end, we can come back to them too. But with that, I wanted to hand it over to Greg Britton, the statewide director of the Florida's SBDC network. He has some of his team on the call. So Greg, take it away. Hey,
thanks, Jack. Yes, and hey, we're excited about the the Florida High Tech Corridor, receiving the FAST grant. From our perspective, what we are as the SBDC, many of you probably have heard of us, right? And know about us already on this call, but we are a sub-program under the SBA that provides one-on-one business consulting, training, and research for our small businesses here in the state of Florida. Anywhere from a startup to a small to medium enterprise, and management structures and those kinds of things, feasibility studies. So we work the ground and, you know, all across the state from Pensacola to Jacksonville to the Florida Keys. And I'm from the state office, as Jack said. We are headquartered, or our offices are here in UWF, the University of West Florida, all the way on the western side of Florida in the Northwest Florida region. And the reason why we were there at University of West Florida, there was a professor of management back in 1976 that went after a pilot program, which is now what we know as the SBDC here in Florida. And he had won a $40,000 grant and stood up 2 resource centers right here in Northwest Florida. And then, of course, today we cover all 67 counties with we have 9 regions. And so some of the faces you see on the call today are our regional directors, and I'll introduce them in just a bit. But, you know, I think one of the reason why I'm so excited about this and the relationship, you know, in the partnership or the connectivity in the ecosystem is the SBA for some time now. At least I've only been here, it'll be 2 years in April, but the last 2 years has really been putting more and more emphasis on tech transfer and commercialization. Our PTAC program is doing the same thing, and you probably will see a transition to that very shortly to a different name and everything. And many of you might know what that name is. We're going to roll that out within the state of Florida as a, you know, very thought out, because we've been known as PTAC for so many years here in Florida for I think it's 40 plus years. So we want to keep that connectivity to our partners. So how we cover the state, I said we have 9 regions. So we have a region right here at the University of West Florida, and that's Kelly Massey. He's on the line here today. I think I saw his name. And then we have another region at FAMU, SBDC at FAMU, and that's Andre McLaughlin. He's on here somewhere as well. And I'll give all these individuals an opportunity to say hello after I'm done here. And then over in UNF, we have a region, and that's that covers that area. Then we have UCF, which is Eunice Choi. You saw her on the call, and at UNF is Marie Haig. And then we have at USF, we have Carl Hayden. He's the regional director there. And then FGCU is another region, which is Dorian Z. I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce his last name. And then we have over on the East Coast, we have Indian River State College. And I don't know if Tom's on here or not. I see a Tom there, but Tom Kindred is our regional director there. And then we have Dr. Sandra Marin that runs the FAU SBDC, and then Brian Van Hook that runs the FIU SBDC. And look, all those individuals are rock stars. They're the ones that do everything every day to help our small businesses, our state. I just help coordinate the state contract and the grant and work with SBA and the DOD to run the programs here in the state of Florida. I will mention an event that I really want to throw out here on the table that I'd like for you guys to take a look at, and I'll get you some more information on it, Jack, once I get off the call. We hold a small business success summit, and we held our first one last year. It was in Tampa, and we had about 370 some people that attended that event. And this year it will be in Fort Lauderdale. And my goal there is to get about 500 individuals there. And what we did last year was we held a mashup event, and we had a SOCOM there, and we had I think University of Florida was there. We had the Air Force front door was there. We had Defense Works there, which many of you might know from, especially in the USF region. They have a hub there in Tampa called SoftWorks. And what our intent for that was to have small businesses come in and pitch what they have, right? And that's anywhere from, it could be mowing the grass all the way though up to technology, right? Because we have to service all of our small businesses here in the state of Florida. But I do want to get more technology centric and tech commercialization centric. And each one of our regions are just a little bit different in where they're at in that whole process. And again, I'll let them say some words if they want to. So I guess we'll just start with Kelly and go on down through the state. Kelly, you there? I'm sure he's there. He was. Andre, are you on?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. I was in the midst of a discussion. Hello, everyone. I am very excited about some of the things I've heard in this session on today in terms of how we can deploy it here at Florida A&M University. Also, we're working very closely to the tech transfer group here at Florida A&M, and we're talking about some projects that are fairly exciting in terms of potential SBIRs and STTR type candidates, but certainly with a group like this, it will certainly help some of our potential clients take advantage of a system such as this. So I appreciate the efforts. Thank you.
Andre, is Maurice on still?
Maurice texted that she had to jump off the call.
Okay. I want to, before I forget, I want to make sure I let everybody know Don Zaveski is on this call as well, and he's our program manager for PTAC. So I think you, Jack, you've worked with Don already as well. So Don, I'll hit you on the very end, but I just want to make sure I didn't miss you. Eunice, how about you?
Hi, everybody. My name is Eunice Choi. I represent the SPDC at UCF. And we cover 8 counties in Central Florida, and I'm very proud to be part of Central Florida ecosystem. And we work already very closely with the UCF incubation program, pushing SBIR and STTR. And also we work closely with the JAG, Florida High Tech Corridor, to be part of this important initiative. And when JAG applied for Florida FAST last June, I wrote a letter of support. So great to see you here. And we will reach out to our clients to promote their teaching events, and we will also connect our clients with their program. And I already connected Jennifer with my PTAC manager last year. So just we are here in a great ecosystem. So thank you.
Thanks, Eunice. And then Carl, thanks for setting this up today. I'll let you say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be a part of the call again. It's exciting to try to kind of get us all connected and listening to the presentations over the first couple of calls. There's a lot of alignment in the goals of our organizations, and I think that there's opportunities to collaborate and really amplify what each other is trying to do. And our region recently relocated to the research park last year, and we're kind of getting plugged in with Elizabeth and with Shannon at USF Connect to become a bigger part of that technology development ecosystem, and we're excited to continue growing in that direction. Thanks again.
All right, Dorian.
Hey everyone, I'm Dorian. Oh, can you see me?
Sorry, Dorian, you texted me that you were jumping off the call, so I was going to give your apologies, but apparently you're
Gotcha.
still...
I'm actually here. My camera is on, but for some reason it shows as a blank screen on my end, so I don't know if you guys could see me. Dorian Zvjerevich, I'm the new regional director at the SPDC at FGCU in Fort Myers. Really excited to, collaborate with you guys in the future and work together. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks, Dorian. Is Tom on?
Could you hear me?
Yep.
Tom Kindred. I am responsible for the 4 counties that make up the Treasure Coast, Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin, and Okeechobee. Impressed and excited to hear about the program. So looking forward to seeing how we can participate, support, and leverage. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. All right, Dr. Marin. You have to jump off, maybe.
She's on, her tile is on the call, but it's still muted, so I don't know if she had to step away.
All right, we'll go down to Mr. Van Hook then down at FIU.
Hey guys, Brian Van Hook. I'm the regional director of the Small Business Development Center under FIU. No shade to the rest of my colleagues, but we have the 2 best counties in the state, Miami-Dade and the Florida Keys. And so we're just like the other directors mentioned, I see everybody smiling, so you guys took the joke. And we're just excited about the partnership and the resources, like everybody else mentioned, because my team has worked with a number of businesses down here to help them to secure SBIR, STTR funding. So definitely excited about if there's other opportunities or other resources or other ways to collaborate to help out the businesses, because ultimately that's what it's all about, right? Is helping students, researchers, helping businesses from the community. So definitely happy to partner up.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, we do have a really good network, guys, and we make a lot of impacts throughout the state, and I know our regional directors work very hard every single day to help our small businesses, and that is one thing when I took over the SBDC, I found out very, very quickly is that every one of our regional directors are passionate and they're there to help build their communities and help their small businesses, and that's what it's all about, as Brian said. And Brian, I have the pleasure though of all 67 counties, which are really, really great, not just the 2 that you have. So anyway, that's it for the SBDC. Let's have some questions.
I was gonna say, how about Don with PTAC?
Oh yeah, Don.
It's a great program folks should know about too if they don't already. So
yeah, sure. Thanks for having us. And by the way, congratulations on winning this grant and bringing this here to Florida. We were delighted to get the good news. So thanks for the effort and thanks for including us. Yeah, my name is Don Savesky. I'm with the PTAC program, or Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, and we provide coverage across the state of Florida. I actually manage and administer the contract. We have PTAC specialists that are located and embedded with the SBDC centers, 9 of them across the state. And that represents about 15 part-time and full-time government contracting consultants. We're very, very lucky here in the state of Florida that we are, as I said, embedded and part of the SBDC network, which represents over 200 business consultants. So we have that reach back and access to expertise. Generally, whatever question comes through the door, if we don't know it, we collaborate, work together, and get the answers. So yeah, for more information about what we do, I'll put it in the chat, link you to our website, but we are also part of a national program as well, representing nearly 1,000 people across the country. So yeah, that's us in general, and look forward to being a part of the team here. Thanks.
I think we can open up for a question or two. I think we have time for a couple questions if anybody has them. Yeah, Paul.
So you knew I was going to say no. So Greg, it's great to see you. Thanks for having the team on here. You said something that really resonates with me, and it resonated with me early on 2.5 years ago when I came down, and it's the idea of technology. And actually Jennifer highlighted this on her brief as well. I want people to expand their minds about technology, because very often my experience around here is sometimes people say, oh, I'm not a tech business, so this doesn't apply to me. Honestly, everything's a tech business or will be aligned with something in tech. So I sort of look at the high-tech corridor. I look at the federal and state technology grant, that FAST piece. It really involves everybody. I'll show you a 30-second quick story. When I was at the National Entrepreneur Center and I was talking with Prospera, and he was talking about a business, and he said, but they're not really tech. And then he walked me through her home cleaning business, which is now in 3 states. And oh, by the way, it got there. They had to create their own IT system to make this whole thing work. And I go, oh my gosh, don't do it on your own. Connect with these other, eventually technology comes smashing together. So as we talk about, what Jack's doing with this call and the people that are on it, please don't I want technology not to be some sort of limiter and saying, oh, I'm not part of that world. It really is part of all of our worlds going forward. So Greg, thanks for having the team on again. Jack, back over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I mean, I think it's impressive seeing all the squares on the call here and seeing all the support, right? I think the more resources, the better. That entrepreneurs, especially when you're dealing with government contracting grants and all that, it's complicated stuff. And the more help companies can get, the better. So if it's okay with you, Greg and team, I'll share contact information on my follow-up email to everybody so people know how to get in touch with you and the regions and all that. If anyone has any we have time for maybe one question. Anybody has anything? If not, I'll do my closing. Excellent. Well, thanks, Greg. I mean, please join join the call anytime. We'll make sure to direct people your way as we kind of expand out throughout the state for FAST. And thanks everyone for being on.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for giving us time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, see you.
All right, bye everybody.